Flash 5, making complex animations where objects follow paths. How do you get objects to take a predetermined path that's something other than a straight line? You use motion guides. The red ball is following the red motion guide, the blue square is following the blue motion guide. These motion guides don't show. When you actually export the movie, they're just guides, so we know they don't show by design. You see it right here. There's a guide layer guiding the circle and a guide layer guiding the square. One little trick with this too, if you have a continuous motion like this circle, you need to be a little bit tricky with it. I put an extra keyframe right at the very center so that it goes from this point to this point and then back around. Otherwise it just follows the shortest path and that goes back and forth. You'll understand what I'm talking about when that happens to you. Now we're going to add a new layer. I want to make a hexagon that joins these and ends up in the center of the square. So I need a layer. And I don't want it under this motion guide. I want it up above on its own layer. And I want it to be a hexagon. So name it first. And then draw the hexagon. I'm going to choose the Polystar tool. And in my properties window down here, under options, change it to 6 sides. That's what a hexagon has. So I'll draw a hexagon. Doesn't really matter where I draw it. Make it different color than the other ones. Green is good. So I've got it right there. And I need to put a keyframe here and a motion tween. So now, where's the path going to be? Well, you can go to Insert, Motion Guide, or you could click this icon right here. It creates a new motion guide. It's right above hexagon layer by default. It's named Guide Hexagon. So this guide is going to control anything in this layer. Now we need to put where the guide's going to be. You can choose any tool. Pencil tool is fine for this. I'm going to choose the green color, and I want it to end up here. So I'm going to start there and draw a shape. Now this shape isn't so great. It's kind of hard to draw by hand. There's a couple ways we can fix that. When you have your selection tool, if you're near it and you get an icon with that arch, you can kind of pull it out gently. If it makes an angle like that, not so gently, then you get some weird stuff. So that you can shape. This, very hard to shape. But good enough for today's purposes. Okay. Now, how do you tell this to follow the guide? In the selection tool, you select the arrow tool. When you click on this object, the center locks on. In here it locked on by accident. I'm in the first keyframe, so I want it to start right here. That center is holding on to it. And in the final keyframe, I want it to end up over here. So when I drag it along, that little center is going to catch. It didn't catch. There, now it's locked on. Now I want to make sure it locks onto it right there. Good. Okay, so now I practice the animation. It follows the green path, and everything ends up in the same spot. Now I also want this to be smaller, so I can select the object, right-click, transform, just like we were in Flash 4. Make the whole thing smaller. So it's actually, even though this is a motion tween, it's doing some shape tween stuff as well. I won't play with getting that exactly in the center. Now you have guided motion paths that can put things exactly where you want them. Play with this, make 3 shapes, make it do it all on its own, and we'll worry about getting that to stop later on. This is going to be a big part of a project that we start on Wednesday or Thursday.